Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy. If you're looking to expand your pool service or get support out in the field, or if you just want one-on-one coaching, join my coaching program with over 270 members and growing. Learn more at poolguycoaching.com.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about some common business mistakes that you can make. And every business mistake eventually will cost you money in your business. Sometimes it'll cost you time, which of course costs you money. So you want to avoid making these mistakes if you can. If you're looking to expand your pool service or get support out in the field, or if you just want one-on-one coaching, join my coaching program with over 270 members and growing. Learn more at poolguycoaching.com. I think one thing you have to do in business is separate everything from business and your personal preferences or leanings. This is one critical area where a lot of businesses fail. They are leaning towards one political party maybe, or maybe one church denomination in particular, and they'll let their personal feelings get in the way of business. And I've seen this happen a lot with service providers, service businesses in particular, small businesses that are run by people that think they are doing something altruistic by supporting one interest group over another, but ultimately they're not really capturing all the leads they can be capturing. What I mean by this is that a lot of times if you let something interfere with making money on this particular account, you're actually losing potential for future earnings. And I'll give you a good example of this. I have a plumber that I use. He's actually a general contractor who happens to be African American, and he talked a lot about business that was done. He's older, he's in the 70s, talked a lot about business that was done in the 80s and 90s, and how a lot of times he was doing a lot of real estate transactions. They would ignore him and his brother because of their ethnicity, and this was a big problem because these two brothers had a lot of money and they were buying houses cash and flipping them, and there was a lot of times where the realtors missed out on a pretty good commission because they were being particular and steering towards a certain demographic, which happens. This is something that happens a lot. There's a lot of laws that are in place to prevent this now, and the fair housing laws are one of them. But there is this kind of thing where this could happen and you lose a lot of money. The same thing with the customer, that if you don't like something about them, and they could be someone who would put your business flyer in their restaurant, you wouldn't even know they have a restaurant with 100 people coming in every day. You lose all those leads because of your personal preference against certain things. So I think that there has to be a clear distinction in business. Separate everything that you are personally opposed to, don't agree with business. Now, there is a limit to this, of course. You want to be reasonable. There are certain things that you don't want to do and don't want to be involved in, and that's perfectly fine. But if it's something that is a personal thing, maybe take a introspective look at yourself and see if you're letting some personal feelings and opinions interfere with your business. This happens a lot again with people that have small businesses, and I understand that you have a right to do whatever you want. There's signs in restaurants that say we have the right to refuse service to anyone. I understand that, and I understand the concept of that. But beyond that, there's a lot of business that is lost out there because you can't separate business from personal. Happens every day, and I see it happening all the time. And I think that's a big mistake that you should avoid in your business. Another thing is not really accounting for inventory. Now, this is not the same thing as when you go into a mom and pop restaurant and you ask for a ranch dressing and they say, oh, it's 38 cents. Or even Cane's, where they charge you like 35 cents for the cane sauce. That's part of their business model of recapturing all their costs. I don't agree with it in particular. Maybe they should build in the cost of that into the product itself. Raise the price of everything by 20 cents. And that way, if anyone wants extra sauce or whatever, they're able just to provide it without charging people. Because I think it evens out. You have customers that want the sauce, some that don't want the sauce. And in my opinion, that's a bad business practice. I like Chick-fil-A where they just give you as much sauce as you want. Technically in the drive-thru in California, they're only allowed to give you, I think, 2 sauces of each kind per order, but you can ask at the window for more sauces. There's one way to get around that, but they certainly don't charge you at this point for extra sauces. And this kind of translates into your pool business. Now, there are times where you'll let little things slide, like a stem O-ring for a filter. That's like $1.50 or $2. I mean, you can include that in the filter cleaning. If you're charging $110 for the filter cleaning, I don't really think you need to itemize a stem O-ring to the customer in that case. It's kind of built into the overall charge of the filter cleaning. Now, of course, diatomaceous earth, I don't charge for that either because it kind of evens out again. You have a certain amount of DE filters, at least in California, a certain amount of cartridge filters. Not every filter needs DE. I understand that's an expense, but that should be built into the filter cleaning charge. What I'm talking about more or less is the fact that you let little things go, like you put a pump basket in or a skimmer basket, or you forget to write it down or log it into your app as something you're charging the customer for. And these little things add up over time. And believe it or not, they can add up to a significant amount of money over time if you forget small cleaner parts or forget to log certain things and bill the customer. Now, what I like to do, of course, is always make sure that the inventory is accounted for. There's many different ways to do this. Of course, if you have an app like Skimmer, you can just enter it and then it'll just automatically generate it onto the invoice or the bill at the end of the month. If you have employees, you want to make sure that they're really careful and they definitely itemize everything. What would be good is to look at the invoices from the supplier to see if everything's been accounted for and nothing slipped through the cracks. Because if you let, $20 or $30 slip through every month, doesn't seem like a lot of money. I mean, it's a small amount of money, but let's just go with $30. And you do that every month, and that's $360 a year. You go over a course of maybe 5 years, and that's $1,800 of kind of missed income based on inventory. Not a lot of money, you would say, but it's significant. I mean, that's enough to go on a weekend vacation somewhere, and that's just for missing pump baskets, Polaris, cleaner screws, little tiny things. Again, there should be some things built in to the actual charge that you're charging the customer for, like in the filter cleaning, but there are certain things that are not built in that you should be charging for. I'm not saying you need to itemize everything, but there are certain things that you want to keep track of inventory. And certainly no one likes paying extra for sauces when they go to restaurants. I wish these mom and pop places would understand this. I certainly don't because I'm rung up. I use my credit card. I pay, $40 for the order, and then they want to charge me 35 cents for something. And at Cane's, I've actually charged a Cane sauce on my credit card. Came out to like 38 cents. When the employee should have just gave it to me. So it's one of those things that kind of bothers me a little bit when people are nickel and diming, but certainly in your business, you're not nickel and diming the customer, charging them for a skimmer basket or pump basket, or even like a cleaner part that costs $5. There's something that you have to account for. If you do charge for the cleaner repair itself, you may just want to put those parts in the labor charge. That way you're not billing the customer for something tiny, because sometimes customers do get offended. I've had this happen before, where you bill for like a pumplet O-ring and it's like a $6 part, and the customer's like, hey, what's this little $6 charge? It's one of those things where you're going to have to deal with it, but you don't want to lose money, and it's better to deal with a customer that's questioning a charge than losing the money on that particular inventoried item. Another big one is underbidding, and I've been guilty of this myself. And sometimes it's something that you just can't prevent. It's one of those things where you're paying attention, yes, and you have to be careful, but you miss things once in a while. And then, of course, you want to correct those underbidding issues right away. I've done this on green pools before. Back in the day when I did a lot of them, I would look at a pool, and I was pretty good at kind of sizing up the pool and how long it would take to clear it up. And usually my prediction was 90% correct. Real quick, if you're not using pool service software, try Skimmer free for 30 days at getskimmer.com/poolguy. Again, that's getskimmer.com/poolguy. Skimmer, everything you need to run your pool service business all in one app. Real quick, if you're not using pool service software, try Skimmer free for 30 days at getskimmer.com/poolguy. Again, that's getskimmer.com/poolguy. Skimmer, everything you need to run your pool service business all in one app.